You have a folder. Maybe it's bookmarks, maybe it's Notion, maybe it's just a pile of tabs you've kept open for months because closing them would feel like admitting something. Inside that folder is everything you needed to start: the course, the tutorial, the thread with 600 tabs, the templates someone spent years building and gave away for free, the breakdown of exactly how so and so went from zero to where you wanted to be. Now you read it, you saved it, and you told yourself tonight was going to be the night. And then tonight became last Tuesday, and last Tuesday became 6 months ago. And now you're sitting watching another video about the thing you still haven't done. This isn't a motivation video. No morning routine, no believe in yourself, although I wish you would. This is a video about a mechanism, a loop that gets stronger the smarter you are. Now, if you stay to the end, you'll understand what's happening, and you'll leave with 3 rules that are intentionally uncomfortable, because comfortable advice is how you stayed in the folder. To begin with, you are alive at the most information-dense moment in human history. Every how question can be answered in seconds. You name it: coding, business, fitness, writing, relationships, anything under the umbrella. The how stopped being the barrier a long time ago. And that changed the math your brain runs. Before the internet, information cost something. You had to find it, pay for it, work for it. And once you paid that cost, using it made some sense. Now the information is free and practically infinite. And that sounds like an upgrade, but it isn't. It's quietly making action optional. You don't have to act at all to feel like you're progressing. You can consume and you still feel busy. And your brain will choose the option that feels like progress and doesn't hurt. Almost every single time. And that's not weakness. That's predictable. Execution paralysis isn't a diagnosis. It's a pattern. You know what to do. You can explain it. You can outline the steps. And when it's time to produce, publish, ship, build, apply, something locks up. So you go back to learning. And you get more ready. You watch one more video. And the gap keeps growing. The gap between knowing and doing. Now, why does that happen? Start with observational learning. Humans learn by watching. We always have. And when you watch someone perform a skill, your brain doesn't just record it. It partially simulates it, like a play inside your mind. Motor-related regions become active inside your head. It's like a small internal rehearsal going and going. This is sometimes called the mirror neuron system. I know the label is messy, but the effect is real. Watching creates familiarity, and that produces a feeling. It tells you, I know how this works. But if you're not careful, that feeling becomes, I can do this. These are not the same. Now add the fluency illusion. Well-made educational content is clean, edited, logical, and step-by-step. Pretty much no dead ends, no confusion, no real mess. So it feels practically easy to follow. Here's what your brain does. It records easy to follow as I'm learning fast. But that's often the false signal. It's the same reason people think they sometimes understand a bicycle until they try to explain how it actually works. Clean explanations create confidence, but it's borrowed confidence. Now the third piece, procedural memory. There are different kinds of memory. Declarative memory is knowing that. Facts, steps, concepts. You can get that from watching. Now, procedural memory is knowing how. Typing without looking. Editing quickly, speaking smoothly, doing the things under pressure. Procedural memory is built purely by repetition. And here's the key. It requires errors, making as many mistakes as possible. Your nervous system needs the mismatch between what you tried to do and what happened. That mismatch creates correction. Correction will create skill. Watching gives you almost none of that. So you end up with a clear picture of what good looks like and no machinery to produce it. And that gap feels like a risk. It does to me. So you retreat to the place where you feel most competent. You return to learning. Here's the loop. You consume content. It's clean. It makes sense. Your brain simulates the action. You feel this sense of familiarity. You feel like you progressed. But you didn't build any procedural skill to begin with. No repetition, no correction, no real feedback. Then you consider executing. And your nervous system checks for any form of real support. And guess what? It finds something thin or practically non-existent. So it sends one message: not ready, things are risky, wait. So you go back to learning again. And it gets worse over time, because the more you watch, the more refined your taste becomes. You've studied the best creators, the best writers, the best operators, and now your taste is ahead of your ability. And the gap between taste and output becomes another reason not to start. But here's the thing. There are 3 people out there that broke this pattern by doing the opposite. Not by motivation, by exposure, feedback, and by paying the cost. Talk about Benjamin Franklin. Now, Franklin was 16, was apprenticed by his older brother in a Boston newspaper shop. He wanted to write, but he wasn't allowed to be Benjamin Franklin the writer. So he wrote under a fake name, Silence Dogood. He slipped the letters under the door, they got published, and people responded, and then he revealed it. And not to any surprise, his brother didn't really celebrate. On the other hand, he exploded. Their relationship turned pretty hostile. But you know what? Franklin eventually had to leave and he had to start over. Now that really matters. Just pause right there. Because Franklin didn't wait for confidence. He shipped work into reality, and reality trained him. The shipping was the education. Let's talk about Michael Faraday. Faraday had limited formal education. He read obsessively, but he didn't stop at reading. No, my friends. He ran experiments. He repeated work with his hands. He learned through results and failures. Reality helped correct him every step of the way, over and over again. That is procedural learning. Information wasn't the asset. Repetition was. My pretty much all-time favorite is Charles Darwin. Now, Darwin didn't build his work by watching at all. No, my friend, he collected. Observations became notes. Notes became evidence. Evidence created clarity. Passive consumption creates a sense of familiarity inside your mind, and evidence starts to force decisions every time. The fork, as I like to call it. Now, this is where you are now. You understand the loop. But here's the trap. You can turn that into more consumption too. You can watch 10 more videos on execution paralysis. You can collect the best damn frameworks for breaking the loop. You can turn insight into another folder again. That is the loop consuming information about itself. An endless spiral. The other path is uncomfortable too. You produce something you don't like. You make something that shows your current level. You feel exposed, naked. That discomfort is not a red flag though, right? It's rather the beginning of procedural learning in the first place. Your nervous system doesn't want it. On the other hand, it's looking for safety. It wants it. So it will push you toward exit behaviors, scrolling, checking, researching, reorganizing, optimizing, all the things you can think. You need to recognize that push for what it is. It is not the damn truth. It is not wisdom. It is a reflex pushing you back. You won't escape this with feelings at all. If you leave it to motivation, you will always lose because the loop is easy and the action is always going to be hard. So what do? You set rules, you need them. Rules will always reduce decisions. Rules will reduce exits and they will force contact. I'll tell you what, here are 3 of them that you can follow. Rule number 1, create before you consume. Every day, produce something before you watch, read, or scroll. Write a paragraph, a draft, a proposal, a workout, call, a prototype. It doesn't need to be good at all. It needs to exist. Bring it to reality. And it needs to happen before you load someone else's polished output into your own head. Rule number 2, stick to one lane for 30 days. Pick one project, any project, right? One lane. No pivoting, no rebuilding, no switching tools at all. No, maybe I should change direction. To heck with it. You are not choosing the perfect lane to begin with. What you're doing is forcing your brain to stop comparing lanes. 30 days of reps in one lane will beat 6 months of research about new lanes. Rule number 3, you ship weekly. Every week, publish or deliver something real. Even small is fine, rough is fine too. A draft is good, right? But it needs to be real. Weekly shipping forces feedback. Feedback forces correction. Correction will build skill. That is the loop in reverse. All of us, including myself, we live in an environment that makes consumption easy and action absolutely optional. That will not change. It'll only get worse. So what do? You need to define a structure that makes action easier than avoidance. You name your problem. Familiarity without skill. You've trained the feeling of competence, and now you need the competence. So tonight, one action. Open a blank document. Set a timer for 20 minutes. Write the first rough version of the thing you've been avoiding. Anything. No editing, no searching, no tools. Leave that aside. Just start jotting things down. When the timer ends, you save it. Do not delete it. That file is worth more than the next 10 hours of research you are going to do instead. Trust me. Because you already know enough. You've known enough for a very long while. So stop collecting. Start repeating. One rep today and then again tomorrow.